Hi everybody, I'm Amanda, and this is a series of talks that I'm doing on tick-borne disease through the lens of spirituality, energy healing, and metaphysics. I'm sharing my personal story of how I healed myself twice from tick-borne disease. As with anything in life, take what resonates with you, leave the rest. And I am an advocate of spiritual healing and energy healing becoming a more normalized part of our healthcare dialogue, as I feel these are vital components within the process of healing that are oftentimes, if not always, overlooked by our current healthcare system and structure. So today's talk is on your language, your words, and your identity within your process of spiritual awakening and healing. More specifically, I am discussing why I do not identify with or use the word chronic within context of chronic illness. The way that I view speech is that speech and language is extremely powerful. It is your internal being externalized in the world and thus actualized. Your words are your spoken truth. And the way that I also look at language is through the spiritual lens. So language to me derives from feeling, which then comes up through you and out into the world through prayer. So the way that I see all of language is that it is a prayer. Whether you are at a religious institution, praying, going to bed at night, saying gratitude, or just talking to another person at the grocery store, it's all a prayer, and it's potent and it's powerful, which is why language is so important as you move through your process of healing and awakening. So, yeah, when I got sick, I kept hearing the word chronic illness. You got a chronic illness. You're dealing with chronic illness over and over and over again. And I had a visceral reaction every single time I heard this word because it is not a word I identified with, and still to this day, I do not identify with this word. To me, the word chronic puts me in a box of stagnancy and suffering. It is a word that I feel has no movement. It is a definitive, and it's a fear-based word. That's how I feel about it. So I feel that identity is an amorphous thing, and I feel that everything in life has the ability and capacity to change. So I knew that using the word chronic was not going to serve me at all if I was trying to heal my physical body and move through my process of transformation and spiritual awakening. So I immediately removed this word from my language and decided on another word. I decided to use the word experience. The reason I chose this word is because the word experience to me feels hopeful. It is a fluid word. It is an active word. It is a word that allows for transformation. The word feels like a breath to me, which is really important in your process of healing and awakening to your true being. So I would call what I was living my healthcare experience or my experience with tick-borne disease. And this language allowed for me to have a beginning and an end, which ultimately allowed me to know that at some point my suffering was going to end. And I continuously used this language as I was moving through my process of healing. So when I came out of tick-borne disease round 2, my life changed drastically. There is not one part of my life that looks the same from when I first got sick. And I feel that the language that I use throughout my process of healing and awakening is what allowed for me to have the courage to transform myself when finally healing and coming out of this experience. If I had been using the word chronic or words that were more closed or fear-based, I don't feel I would have been able to transform, to grow my consciousness, which is what you are being asked to do when you are suffering. There is something within you or your life that needs to change to help you actualize yourself in truth. I just also want to mention the importance of words when it comes to using the word miracle. A lot of us pray for miracles. We think miracles can happen, and I believe they can. But I also believe that when you're discussing miracles, one must allow for the language that is being used around that prayer to be transformative, fluid, active, and not fear-based. So I just want to add that in there as something to consider as you move through your process of healing and awakening. I mentioned this in another talk, but I feel that it's fits right here and is equally as important. So I'm a human, and going through years of healing, I would complain, a couple times here and there. Is this ever going to get better? Why? So on and so forth. But at the end of my moment of complaining, I would, from my heart, with full power say, but I know I'm going to get better. Over and over and over again. And this was really, really important and really powerful, which is why I mention it again. I never allowed my language to sit in a space of stagnancy and suffering. So I ask you to consider that as you move through your process of healing and spiritual awakening, and thus transformation and elevation of your own consciousness. So the questions that I leave you with are, does your language feel fluid to you? Does it feel transformative? Or does it feel concrete, stagnant, and fear-based? What is the prayer that your words are speaking in your everyday? How do your words form your identity? Are you allowing space for change within your life, within your internal being? And do your words allow for your process of healing and spiritual awakening to move forward? So, yeah. If you're interested in hearing more of my story, follow me on this social media experience. And I also just wanted to mention that I am a medium, spiritual counselor, and medical intuitive. I work with clients one-on-one to help them move through their process of healing and spiritual awakening. If you or someone you know needs support, you can check out my website for my current offerings. And I just thank you so much for listening to my talk. And I want you to know that no matter how intensely you may be suffering or how long you have been suffering, you can get better. You just have to find your keys to your healing, but it is possible. It really is. So again, thank you for listening, and you can get better.